So, as probably some of you know, I'm not doing very well financially. This is not me shilling. Like when I e-beg, I will tell you I'm e-begging. Okay, no, I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. It's not that I'm in debt, but I'm buying furniture right now. So I'm struggling with money. I'm doing fine. Like I'm going to be able to pay everything, but I'm just like in that little impasse to the point where seeing a movie at a theater was definitely not something that I planned in my life right now. Especially not a Rambo movie because I can't say that I'm not a fan. I mean, I watched it when I was a kid, but it was like, it's kind of cool. I mean, yeah, it's Rambo, but it's not something that would definitely make me, go out of my way to see it. So when I saw these like reviews, like, oh, Trump this, Trump that, MAGA, 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 it's like, holy shit, I need to go see it. It's like, oh, most racist movie. Oh, wow, how can I miss something like that? So I did a Herculean effort, started gathering money, and managed to go and see it today. And I gotta say, I was like surprisingly impressed because what exactly is Rambo? It's a movie with a very simple plot where you get to see John Rambo kill a bunch of people. Like that is Rambo 1, that is Rambo 2, that is Rambo 3, So to see a remake in 2009 in the current year where it's actually the soul of what the previous what the previous movies used to be is phenomenally rare. Most people, what they will do is that they will just try to make a remake so they get the title, but then like give a complete reimagining of what the story is supposed to be. No, Rambo actually gives you Rambo. Imagine that. Can you imagine? Like you actually remember a movie that you grew up as a kid, and there's a sequel, and when you go see it, it's actually in the same spirit and the vibe of the previous movies. My God. But it's not only about the salt that you can find on Rotten Tomatoes. Like some of these critics are absolutely unhinged. They are absolutely livid about it. No, it's also the fact that the story was actually good. Like I was genuinely, and there were other people in the cinema as well, who were emotionally affected by what we see on the screen. You see, at law school, we have studied at length the way human traffickers abuse women in order to get them to prostitute, right? And I actually spoke with some of these survivors, and there were certain presentations, watched documentaries as well. And I gotta say, like, all my knowledge of this, like, no, the movie does a very accurate job to portray these absolute pieces of shit of human beings, some of the lowest scum of the low, which are the human traffickers. And it does it so accurately that I was emotionally shocked a little bit. And it's a good thing, like I want to go to the cinema to experience feelings, feelings of joy, sadness, whatever they be. I want the movie to make me feel something. And seeing the way, the cartel was behaving towards those girls was just, it was so surreal because it was very close to reality. If it was something far out, if it was something far fetched, you would distance yourself from that because you're like, oh yeah, it's just a movie. But the immersion here was just so great. So why is the left so pissed off about this movie, right? Because I'll explain to you why. This is one of the most diverse, quote unquote, movies that has came out the entire year. Besides John Rambo, literally everybody in the movie is either Mexican or a second or third generation Mexican immigrant. All right, like this is the most diverse movie since Black Panther. I think even Black Panther had, more white characters than this movie has. If we consider Mexicans to be brown, as the far left tries to tell us. So why is it that they're so pissed off about this movie? And I'll explain now. The purpose of the culture critic, the purpose of the socialist masquerading as a reviewer on Rolling Stones or on any of these publications, is to be the gatekeeper of what's allowed and what isn't allowed. So if you have a movie that has the correct politics, they're going to get extra credit just because of that. If you have a movie that has the wrong politics, they are going to take you a couple of grades down a notch. If you have a movie that has the worst politics, then they're also going to start making articles after articles after articles trying to tear down the movie and say that it's shit, which is what we're seeing here. So you need to understand the meta narrative of social justice. The meta narrative of social justice is as follows: everything bad that is happening in the world, literally everything, happens mostly because of the United Kingdom and its colonies and Europe. Everything that happens bad happens in first world nations. And everything that happens bad in third world nation is because of first world nations. So if you have a movie that shows, heaven forbid, Mexicans having cartels, you're getting people to think. You're getting people to actually, like maybe look and do some research into things, and they might find that a lot of tourists that travel into Mexico actually get abducted by cartels and then offered up for ransom, or if they're women, they actually end up being pushed into sex slavery. Like, these things happen. They're real. It's something very abhorrent. And the left doesn't want this to be shown. They don't want it in the media. They don't want it in movies. They don't want it anywhere, right? They don't want people to think about these issues. If you were to have the Rambo movie where he kills corrupted cops, the left would applaud it. 10 out of 10 Kotaku, 10 out of 10 Polygon. But if the enemy is from without America and it treats a subject that is of contemporary importance and actually happens in the real world, they're livid. To the point where I have seen reviews, claiming that the movie is xenophobic. So I guess Rambo killing sex traffickers is xenophobic. Like, Rambo going to Mexico to rescue a Mexican girl from a Mexican sex trafficking organization is xenophobic. This is like some mental derangement. Like, I'm sorry if my tolerance will never, even if I get fired, even if you deplatform me, but it will never extend to sex trafficking. Like my tolerance has a limit. I can tolerate a lot of shit, but sex trafficking, no. Never in my life. This is like the thing that you will never convince me. So, it is just beyond the pale of the way the critics are handling this. I'll make like an entire live stream dedicated to this, because there is so much to unpack here. There is so much to discuss. But I just want you to understand the main reason why they hate it, right? The main reason why they hate it is because, according to the left, Mexico is a paradise, is a town of luxuries and a town of plenty. And only good people come from Mexico into the United States. And if you deport any person from the United States back to Mexico, you're literally killing them, because logic. There are actually articles where they say, no, you can't deport people back because you're killing them. Now, here's the thing. The left also looks at movies and analyzes them, not from the way a normal person analyzes a movie. It's like, oh yeah, Rambo and his ranch, that's a really cool ranch. No. The leftist analyzes the movie through the collective lens. What it means is that if Rambo has a nice ranch, then they interpret this as the movie saying that America is a beautiful place. If you see Mexican cartels, then, they collectivize that, and they say, oh, the movie is saying all Mexicans are sex traffickers. Which the movie goes out of its way to point out that no, like, they even have Rambo being at one point helped by an independent journalist, which also suffered because of the sex trafficking. Like, her sister was kidnapped. So, it makes a clear distinction that normal Mexicans don't really like the cartels. Like, they suffer from the cartels more than the Americans. Like, the Americans don't give a fuck because they're past the border. The cartels don't really affect them, at least in the Rambo universe. But here, like, the Mexicans are the ones that suffer. It's that they're women that are being taken into sex trafficking. And, like, to honestly say that the movie is portraying Mexicans as being this is not only disingenuous, but you need to have some sort of mental deficiency in order to just be able to make this claim. Furthermore, now here's something else that I notice about the leftist ideology. And when I say left, I mean like the far left, the identitarian politicians, the ones from Rotten Tomatoes, which, all of a sudden review bombing a movie is okay with Rotten Tomatoes. Notice that. Very funny. Um, if you if you look at how people become racists in the world, there's basically two main categories. Number one, people who are racist out of ignorance. And there was this YouTuber, I forgot his name. I think it's a black guy or something like that. And he was talking how he lived in a black only town where he rarely saw any white people. And the only thing he heard about white people was from other black people. And like when he actually met the white people in real life, it was so different than what he was told that it kind of baffled him. So, like this type of people are racist out of ignorance. They just, hear about other races, and they hear about stereotypes and stuff like that. So they never, it's usually very easy to de-radicalize them the moment they actually meet someone of that race. The other type of racist that exists is the bad apples, like the people who the second type of racist, which is quite the prominent one in our day and age, is people who have a lot of experience with bad apples. Like, for example, in my country, like even if you remove the human element, right? A lot of taxi drivers paint their cars in yellow. And because of that, whenever a taxi driver does something that jeopardizes the safety of other people on the street, like runs over a red light, crosses over a line, it creates a negative stigma on all taxi drivers. So people start hating taxi drivers because of the bad apples that they see. And this, I think, applies to humans as well. Like if you're going to see certain bad apples of a certain ethnicity or race, a lot of people are going to be more inclined to have prejudices towards that ethnicity or race. Now, how do you fix this? Well, you fix this by making sure you punish the bad apples. Like everyone needs to be a group effort, especially from that ethnicity, because the good apples in that ethnicity are going to have a bad name because of the bad apples. So, it's also in their interest to get these people to be locked up, to be persecuted, to be condemned, to get social stigma. So in this case, Mexico's sex traffickers. There's a lot of Romanian sex traffickers. There are, like when I was to law school, it seems that they have cut themselves quite a piece of the pie of the prostitution within the European Union. And I, as a Romanian, will go, beyond any lengths to condemn them. I'm not going to hide that they don't exist. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to condemn it. And, if possible, I will do everything that I can in order to make sure that these people go behind bars if I ever have any information about them, right? So this is like a way to make sure that Romanians don't get stigma. Because these people do give Romanian stigma, like whether you like it or not. I mean, you can get people to stop talking about it. You can get people to pretend they don't exist, but the reality is going to be there. Just because you're lying doesn't mean you're changing reality. You don't have the Gestalt field of the orcs from Warhammer to change these things. And the left, what they do is, they, in the case of Sweden, for example, they refuse to deport people who are from that particular demographics, if you know what I mean, the youth, the new Swedish youth. They don't deport them if they're caught on rape. So, they allow the bad apples to remain to tarnish the name of entire communities. And what the social justice activists from the US do in this case of the movie, they would like that you don't talk about the Mexico cartels, that you don't talk about the human traffickers from Mexico, that you don't discuss about these issues at all. And this is like putting them under a rug. Like it's still going, like the apples are going to ferment, they're going to rot, they're going to stink, and you're going to see the carpet filled all the way up, and you're going to ask like, what the fuck? So yeah, this is like their tactics, like because they want to fuel racism. Like if you're a person that goes to gender studies and you spend a lot of money on a student loan in order to be able to combat racism, you don't want racism to go away. Like you obviously not, because you're going to be out of a job. So they want this, they want to fearmonger to get people to vote. So this is why they have this political correctness, which is just putting the dirt under the rug, so they can constantly say, "Well, the room is dirty. Hire me as a cleaner to fix the problem." And when you hire him as a cleaner, he keeps putting more dirt under the rug. But anyway, right? So another thing which I noticed is that they're saying, "Oh, the movie is talking about Mexico being this dangerous place." I never got that. I never got that vibe. What it is trying to say is that there are certain places within Mexico, like there are certain, not even cities, but you can talk about a city and people are like, well, that it's fine. But then when you talk about the neighborhood from that city, they're like, oh yeah, do not go there, right? Because that is like a big issue. Yeah, there are neighborhoods that are dominated by criminals, and you're not going to be safe if you go to these places. But the left like just can't understand that. Like if you talk about like something bad that happens in a Mexican city, they will say, "Oh, so you're saying that all cities are like that." That you're not going to hear them complain if the new Terminator movie shows kids in cages, under the at the border. Like, no, that's fine. That is progressive. No, of course America is horrible. Like, you're allowed to show in a movie as much shit as you want, as long as it's directed towards the United States, and you make the United States be the villain. Like, this is something that I also noticed. Like, the right constantly focuses on the evil without, and the left constantly focuses about the evil within. And it goes to ridiculous notions when it's just unacceptable. Like during the Bush era, if you said that America has any problems, you are unpatriotic. Now if you say that other nations besides America have any problems, you're a bigot xenophobe. But anyway, right? So what I wanted to say is that this is actually a really good movie. I definitely enjoyed myself. Nothing that I seen was out of the ordinary. Like, it was a really believable story, and I'll give you a little bit of spoilers here at the end. If you don't want to listen to it, then tune out. I mean, let's see what happened and see how unbelievable it is, okay? Mexican girl wants to meet her biological father. Is this not something that a lot of people do? Like, of course, right? It's relatable. Mexican girl is told not to travel to Mexico where her father lives because the area is dangerous. Is this something unreasonable? No. She doesn't listen. Oh my god, teenage girl not listening. Is this like can we relate to that? Yeah. She meets a girl which notices that she's got expensive jewelry, notices that she's kind of naive. She's like the female version of a punk. Like, she's not streetwise at all. She has been grown into the United States and is really not familiar with how the streets work, and takes advantage of her. Yeah, I know that people in my life. Like, I generally know these types of people. They exist. Okay, it's relatable. Yeah, there are human beings that will do that. They will look at, a person and think, how can I work this guy? How can I take advantage of him? And, they start eyeing the jewelry and stuff. She gets drugged. I understand, according to feminists, drug rape is a thing, so, they should relate to that. Gets drugged, gets taken into a location where she is forced to prostitute herself. Yeah, this is how human trafficking rings operate. Rambo goes there, gets his ass kicked. Of course, he's one guy versus so many. It's their home turf. And then he manages to find out. I guess like this would be like the unbelievable part of the story, that he actually meets like a good Samaritan, a Mexican journalist that manages to nurse him back to health. And he goes back, finds out where these people are keeping the girls, in which brothel, finds the girl, rescues her. And in his car, she ODs from heroin, because one of the ways that these human traffickers would keep the girls tied is by drugging them with heroin, so that they need to come back to get their fix, to get their daily dose, because otherwise, they would get into relapse. And not only that, they're threatened with death if they ever try to run away. Yeah, that actually happens. Like, none of these things are, out of the ordinary. Like none of the things are far fetched. They're very relatable. Like I'm looking at a movie that the characters are relatable human beings. You know, no matter how evil they are, like yeah, these criminals exist in the world. That's why we have prisons. You know, so you know, like Rambo goes there, kills a couple of guys, goes back home, booby traps his house, and goes Viet Cong on their ass. And with the level of explosives and the way he actually performs the murderings, I can see that happen. Like, he does some Viet Cong guerrilla type of shit on some people that were really arrogant and thought that it's just one old guy and it's going to be an easy kill. Yeah, I can see that. He gets shot a couple of times. Probably dies at the end of the movies. I warned you about spoilers. Like, everything of this is like, yeah, it's what is so far-fetched? What is so, you know, like, which part of the story do you not believe and you think it's, no, again, like, this movie was so, I don't know, close to showing the evil that certain humans are capable of that it definitely shook me. I was feeling uncomfortable while watching it. And I was definitely cheering whenever, you know, Rambo would kill one of these sons of bitches. So no, the director did a very great job in portraying, like, evil characters and making these characters relatable. But anyway, right, let me know what you think. Looking forward to seeing from you guys in the comment section, and I'll see you all tomorrow.